James. I'm a personal trainer from empoweringpt.co.uk, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the classic mistakes that you see with a reverse crunch. So there are many variations of a reverse crunch. You will see people do it with extended legs, and you'll see people doing it without. So I'll show you both versions. So hands underneath the hips, quite commonly, just because this helps to elevate the hips a little bit more. Use less of the hip flexor, and just helps to keep your lower portion of your abs working. So relax the head down, and then the extended leg version brings the legs out and then in, and you're going to tuck your knees to your chest. So it comes out, in, and up. Okay, and the shortened version, you'll keep the knees ahead of the hips, and you're going to bring it up, squeeze, and then lower the hips. Now notice how I'm not doing this by pushing down on the ground. I'm not pushing down and lifting myself up. Hopefully you can see the difference. More of my back will come off of the ground if I just push up and not use my lower abs. Okay? And that's one of the common mistakes that you see. That's one of the first things that you see, is people push down too much and they try to use their lats to assist themselves up. Okay? Instead you want to be focusing on the lower portion of your abs, sucking your stomach into your spine, breathing out, and lifting your knees up and down. Okay? So as much as you can do the extended leg version, and that helps to use the full range of motion of the abs, what most people do is they do it too fast. And now what happens here is that you use the hip flexor instead of your lower abs, and it's working too dominantly for the lower abs to handle. So by slowing it down, it helps to keep the weight on your lower abs. So from here, keeping it nice and slow, get your heels as close to the floor as you can, full extension, and then bring it up nice and slow. Because if I just thrust straight up, I'm not actually using any of my lower abs at all really. It's all coming through the hip flexor to thrust myself up. Instead of keeping it nice and slow, my hip flexor then stops working. It helps put more weight through onto the lower abs due to time and tension, and then I can crunch with it. Okay? This is why I typically give people the concentrated version of the reverse crunch. This is why I force them to have their knees ahead of their hips, because most people don't know how to use their lower abs properly because of this technique. The lower abs tend to work with the hip flexor, and that's okay if you want to do that, especially to start with, because a lot of people can't use their lower abs properly yet because they're too weak. So doing extended leg versions are good to start with. But if you want to build your lower abs properly, then I believe that you need to isolate them a little bit more. And the best way to do that is to keep your knees ahead of your hips. So the hip flexors will bring your knees up towards your hips. But from here, if you want to get your hips up, you need to use your lower abs, and that's their main function. So hands underneath the hips again. Notice that my knees are ahead of my hips. As soon as I bring them down, I can use momentum to bring it up. And then again, not use my hip flexors. So by having it here already, I can already feel that if I try to bring my knees towards my chest, my lower abs are going to be working rather than my hip flexors. So from here, I'm going to force my hips up into the air, bring my knees as close to the chest as possible, and then back down. Breathing out as it comes up. Okay, so the next common mistake is that when they do this, they relax too much. So what happens is they'll bring it up and relax, up and relax, instead of controlling the contraction. Okay, the lower abs are weak, and as much as getting it up is fine, if you relax on the way down, you're losing a big portion of the potential to make them stronger. So instead, you want to bring it up, control that contraction, and down. Give it a squeeze at the top. Bring your knees to your chest, squeeze it as much as you can, and then control it down. And up, and down. Up, squeeze, and down. That will make you feel it a lot more than what you thought you would. If you haven't tried these before, I suggest you try them. It's a brilliant way of developing your lower abs, and this is a good way of being able to develop them to then go on to hanging exercises where you do the hanging knee tucks, hanging leg raises, and exercises like that, which are really good at being able to give you a full stretch of the abs before activating them. So this is a good stepping stone if that's something that you want to be doing. So hopefully you've enjoyed the content for today. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. The button's just below. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.